She paid for a millionaire's coffee without knowing who she was. What happens the next day changes everything. Have you ever wondered how a simple act of kindness could change your life forever? This story will inspire you to believe that good deeds, no matter how small, can lead to extraordinary events. Stick around and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories that show the power of kindness. Emily, a woman whose radiant smile could light up even the gloomiest of days, and Olivia Grant, a billionaire whose vast fortune couldn't fill the void in her heart. Their paths were about to cross in the most unexpected of ways, proving that sometimes the most valuable currency isn't found in bank accounts, but in the warmth of human connection. The day began like any other for Emily. The first rays of sunlight barely peeked through her modest apartment window as she stirred from her slumber. The faint aroma of coffee from her neighbor's unit wafted through the thin walls, a gentle reminder of her morning ritual. Emily's eyes fluttered open, a soft smile gracing her lips as she thought of the day ahead. Despite the challenges life had thrown her way, she always managed to find joy in the smallest of things. As she rose from her bed, Emily's gaze fell upon a framed photo on her nightstand. It showed a group of children, their faces beaming with unbridled happiness, surrounding her at the community center where she worked. This image was her daily reminder of purpose, the fuel that kept her going even on the toughest days. Running her fingers over the frame, Emily whispered a quiet promise to herself and those children. Another day to make a difference. The morning routine was a well-choreographed dance for Emily. She moved through her small apartment with practiced ease, humming a tune as she got ready for the day. Her wardrobe was modest but carefully curated, each piece chosen for its ability to bring comfort to the children she worked with. Today, she opted for a sunny yellow blouse, hoping its cheerful hue would brighten someone's day. As Emily stepped out onto the street, the city was already alive with activity. The cacophony of car horns, the chatter of early morning commuters, and the rhythmic thumping of joggers' feet on the pavement created a symphony of urban life. But amidst this familiar chaos, Emily's mind was already at the community center, mentally preparing for the day's challenges and opportunities. Her first stop, however, was her beloved local cafe, the Daily Grind. It was more than just a coffee shop to Emily. It was a sanctuary where the aroma of freshly ground beans and the warmth of human kindness blended perfectly. The bell above the door chimed as she entered, announcing her arrival to the familiar faces inside. "Morning, Emily," called out Jake, the barista with a penchant for latte art and terrible puns. "Ready for your usual dose of caffeinated courage?" Emily laughed, the sound like a melody in the cozy space. "You know me too well, Jake. Hit me with your best shot of espresso, that is." As Jake busied himself with her order, Emily's attention was drawn to a woman standing at the counter. There was something about her that stood out, even in the eclectic mix of the Daily Grind's clientele. She was impeccably dressed in a tailored suit that probably cost more than Emily's monthly rent, her posture speaking of confidence and authority. Yet, there was a tension in her shoulders, a tightness around her eyes visible even behind the large designer sunglasses she wore indoors. Emily watched as the woman rummaged through an expensive-looking handbag, her movements becoming increasingly frantic. It was a scene Emily had witnessed many times before, the universal panic of a lost wallet. Without a second thought, she stepped forward. "Excuse me," Emily said softly, not wanting to startle the woman. "Is everything all right? Can I help?" The woman's head snapped up, her expression hidden behind those oversized shades. For a moment, she seemed to struggle with whether to accept help or maintain her composure. Finally, in a voice barely above a whisper, she admitted, I can't find my wallet. I must have left it at home or in the car." Emily's smile was warm and reassuring. "Oh, don't worry about it. It happens to the best of us. Why don't you let me get this for you? Consider it my good deed for the day." The woman hesitated, clearly unaccustomed to accepting help, especially from strangers. But something in Emily's genuine offer seemed to break through her defenses. With a slight nod, she accepted. Her "thank you," so quiet it was almost lost in the cafe's ambient noise. As Emily paid for both their coffees, she couldn't help but wonder about the stranger. There was a story there, hidden behind those sunglasses and designer clothes. But it wasn't her place to pry. Instead, she simply said, "I hope your day gets better from here." Sometimes, a good cup of coffee is all it takes to turn things around. The woman nodded again, this time with a hint of a smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. She took her coffee and moved towards the exit, pausing briefly at the door to look back at Emily. For a moment, it seemed like she might say something more, but then she was gone, swallowed up by the bustling street outside. Emily watched her go, feeling a strange mix of curiosity and concern. She hoped that small act of kindness might have made a difference in the woman's day. Little did she know, that simple gesture was about to change both their lives in ways she couldn't possibly imagine. As Emily made her way to the community center, coffee in hand and a spring in her step, she couldn't shake the image of the mysterious woman from her mind. There had been something in her demeanor, a mix of strength and vulnerability, that struck a chord with Emily. It reminded her of the many faces she encountered at the center, people wearing masks of composure while battling inner storms. The community center, a weathered building with a fresh coat of hope painted on its walls, stood as a beacon in one of Atlanta's most challenged neighborhoods. To Emily, it was more than just a workplace. It was a second home, a place where dreams were nurtured and lives were changed, one day at a time. As she pushed open the creaky front door, Emily was greeted by a chorus of excited voices. "Miss Emily, Miss Emily's here." The children, ranging from toddlers to teens, swarmed around her, their faces lighting up with genuine joy. This daily welcome never failed to warm Emily's heart, reminding her why she poured her soul into this work despite the modest pay and long hours. "Good morning, my little sunbeams." Emily beamed, high-fiving and hugging her way through the crowd. "Who's ready for another amazing day?" The enthusiasm in the room was palpable, a stark contrast to the often harsh realities these children faced outside these walls. Emily knew that for many of them, the center was a safe haven, a place where they could just be kids without worrying about adult problems that were far beyond their years. As she made her way to her tiny office, more of a glorified closet really, Emily's mind drifted back to the woman at the cafe. She wondered what kind of life she led, what struggles she might be facing behind that polished exterior. It was a reminder that appearances could be deceiving, that everyone, regardless of their apparent status, carried their own burdens. Emily's reverie was interrupted by a gentle knock on her door frame. "Emily, got a minute?" It was Maria, the center's director, her face etched with the familiar lines of worry that came with trying to keep a non-profit afloat in challenging times. "Of course, Maria. What's on your mind?" Emily gestured to the worn chair across from her desk, a piece of furniture that had seen better days, but, like everything else in the center, was infused with love and purpose. Maria sank into the chair with a sigh that seemed to come from her very soul. "It's the funding, Emily. I just got off the phone with the city. They're cutting our budget again. I don't know how we're going to keep all our programs running." The news hit Emily like a physical blow. She knew how much the center meant to the community, how many families relied on their services. The thought of having to scale back, of potentially letting down even one child, was heart-wrenching. "There has to be something we can do," Emily said, her mind already racing through possibilities. "Maybe we could organize a fundraiser, or reach out to local businesses for sponsorships." Maria's smile was tinged with sadness and admiration for Emily's unwavering optimism. "We've been down those roads before, Emily, but we'll figure something out. We always do, right?" As Maria left, Emily found herself staring at the wall of photos behind her desk. Smiling faces of children and families whose lives had been touched by the center looked back at her. Each picture told a story of hope, of lives changed for the better. She wouldn't let them down. With renewed determination, Emily threw herself into her work. The day flew by in a whirlwind of activity, helping kids with homework, mediating teenage dramas, and offering a listening ear to parents struggling to make ends meet. Through it all, Emily's smile never wavered, her energy seemingly inexhaustible. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the center's windows, Emily found herself alone in the main activity room. She stood there, surrounded by the day's remnants, crayons scattered on tables, half-finished art projects pinned to walls, the lingering echoes of laughter and chatter. It was in moments like these, in the quiet aftermath of a busy day, that Emily felt the full weight of her calling. She knew that what she and her colleagues did here mattered, that they were making a real difference in people's lives. But she also knew that without proper funding, their ability to help would be severely limited. As she tidied up, Emily's thoughts once again drifted to the woman from the cafe. She wondered what someone like that, someone who clearly had means, would think of a place like this. Would she understand the importance of what they did here? Would she care? Emily shook her head, chiding herself for dwelling on such thoughts. The woman was a stranger. Their paths had crossed for but a moment. There was no use in imagining what-ifs. Yet, as Emily locked up the center and stepped out into the cool evening air, she couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had happened that morning, something that might ripple out in ways she couldn't yet fathom. Little did Emily know, across town in a penthouse suite overlooking the glittering Atlanta skyline, Olivia Grant was having similar thoughts. The woman behind the sunglasses, the billionaire CEO who had found herself flustered over a forgotten wallet, sat alone in her opulent living room, an untouched glass of expensive wine in her hand. Olivia's gaze was fixed on the city below, but her mind was far away, replaying the morning's encounter over and over. The kind smile of the stranger who had bought her coffee, the warmth in her voice, the genuine desire to help without expecting anything in return. It had stirred something in Olivia, something she thought had long since been buried under years of cutthroat business dealings and a relentless pursuit of success. For the first time in years, Olivia Grant, one of the most powerful women in Atlanta's business world, felt a crack in the carefully constructed armor she wore every day. And through that crack, a question began to seep in. Was this all there was to life? As the night deepened and the city lights twinkled like earthbound stars, two women on opposite sides of town drifted off to sleep, unaware that their lives were about to become inextricably intertwined in a dance of fate that would challenge everything they thought they knew about wealth, happiness, and the true meaning of success. The next morning dawned bright and clear, the Atlanta sky a canvas of soft blues and wispy whites. For Emily, it started much like any other day. The same alarm clock chirp, the same morning routine, the same walk to her beloved cafe. Yet, as she pushed open the door to the daily grind, there was a palpable shift in the atmosphere, an electric undercurrent that made the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. The usual morning crowd was there, punched over steaming mugs and half-eaten pastries, but their attention seemed focused on Emily as she made her way to the counter. Whispers followed in her wake, accompanied by not-so-subtle glances and poorly hidden smiles. Jake, the ever-cheerful barista, practically bounced as Emily approached. His grin was wider than usual, threatening to split his face in two. "Well, well, well," he said, his voice tinged with barely contained excitement. "If it isn't our local celebrity." Emily's brow furrowed in confusion. "Celebrity? Jake, what on earth are you talking about?" But before Jake could respond, he was already pushing a large cup across the counter towards her. "Your usual, my lady," he said with an exaggerated bow. "And before you reach for your wallet, let me stop you right there. Your coffee today, and quite possibly for the rest of your life, is on the house." Emily's confusion deepened. She looked from Jake to the cup and back again, trying to make sense of what was happening. "Jake, you're not making any sense. Why would my coffee be free? And why is everyone looking at me like I've grown a second head?" Jake's eyes twinkled with mischief. "Oh, just a little thing called karma. Seems like your good deed yesterday didn't go unnoticed." As if on cue, the cafe's door burst open, and in walked a delivery person laden with the most extravagant bouquet of flowers Emily had ever seen. The arrangement was a riot of colors and fragrances, roses and lilies and orchids all vying for attention. "Delivery for Emily? Just Emily?" the courier called out, looking around the cafe. In a daze, Emily raised her hand. That's me." As the flowers were placed in her arms, their sweet scent enveloping her, Emily noticed a small envelope nestled among the blooms. With trembling fingers, she plucked it out and opened it. Inside was a handwritten note, the penmanship elegant and precise. Thank you for your kindness. You have no idea how much it meant to me. Oh gee. Emily read the note once, twice, 3 times, her mind whirling. Oh gee, could it be the woman from yesterday? But how had she known Emily's name? And why such an extravagant gesture for a simple cup of coffee? As Emily stood there, surrounded by curious onlookers and the heady scent of flowers, she couldn't shake the feeling that her life was about to change in ways she couldn't possibly imagine. Little did she know, across town, Olivia Grant was experiencing a similar upheaval in her carefully ordered world. Olivia had barely slept the night before, her mind consumed by thoughts of the kind stranger in the cafe. For years, she had navigated the cutthroat world of business with a steely resolve, building an empire that was the envy of her peers. She had everything money could buy: the penthouse, the cars, the clothes, the power, and yet, in the face of one simple act of kindness, she felt lacking. As the first light of dawn crept through her floor-to-ceiling windows, Olivia made a decision. She couldn't let this go. She needed to find the woman from the cafe, to understand what drove someone to be so genuinely kind in a world that often rewarded selfishness. With a determination that had served her well in the boardroom, Olivia set her plan in motion. A few calls to her vast network of contacts, a generous donation to grease the wheels of bureaucracy, and soon she had a name, Emily. But a name wasn't enough. Olivia needed to know more. Who was this Emily? What was her life like? What motivated her to help a complete stranger without hesitation? As her limousine wound through the streets of Atlanta, taking her from one meeting to another, Olivia found herself distracted. The numbers and projections that usually held her rapt attention now seemed hollow, meaningless in the face of the questions swirling in her mind. By mid-afternoon, Olivia had cleared her schedule, much to the shock of her assistant, who had never seen the CEO take personal time in all the years they'd worked together. With a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in years, Olivia directed her driver to the address she'd obtained, the community center where Emily worked. As the sleek black car pulled up in front of the weathered building, Olivia felt a moment of hesitation. This was far from her usual haunts, a world away from the polished corporate offices and exclusive clubs she frequented. For a brief moment, she considered turning back, retreating to the familiar comfort of her high-rise sanctuary. But the memory of Emily's smile, the warmth of her gesture, propelled Olivia forward. Taking a deep breath, she stepped out of the car, her Louboutin heels clicking against the cracked sidewalk. The sound seemed to echo in the quiet street, drawing curious glances from a group of children playing nearby. Olivia was acutely aware of how out of place she must look, a designer-clad figure amidst the backdrop of a neighborhood that had clearly seen better days. As she approached the entrance, Olivia could hear the muffled sounds of laughter and chatter from inside. Her hand hesitated on the door handle, her heart racing with an unfamiliar nervousness. She, Olivia Grant, who had faced down boardrooms full of cutthroat executives without breaking a sweat, found herself anxious at the prospect of entering a community center. With a final deep breath, she pushed the door open and stepped inside. The cacophony of noise hit her first. Children's voices raised in excitement, the thump of basketballs on hardwood, the gentle strumming of a guitar from a far corner. It was a symphony of life, so different from the sterile silence of her corporate world. As her eyes adjusted to the dimmer light inside, Olivia scanned the room, searching for a familiar face. And then she saw her, Emily, surrounded by a group of children, her hands moving animatedly as she told what seemed to be a captivating story. The smile on Emily's face, the light in her eyes, struck Olivia once again. Here was a woman who had so little by societal standards, yet radiated a joy that Olivia, with all her wealth, had never known. For a moment, Olivia stood frozen, an observer on the periphery of this vibrant scene. She watched as Emily finished her story, the children erupting into giggles and excited chatter. With gentle words and warm touches, Emily began to disperse the group, sending them off to various activities around the center. It was then that Emily looked up, her eyes meeting Olivia's across the room. Recognition flickered in her gaze, followed quickly by surprise, and then a warm smile that seemed to light up the entire space. Olivia felt her breath catch in her throat, suddenly unsure of what to do or say. Emily, however, seemed to have no such hesitation. With a few quick words to a colleague, she made her way across the room, navigating around scampering children and scattered toys with practiced ease. "Hello," Emily said as she reached Olivia, her voice warm and welcoming. "I didn't expect to see you here. Is everything all right?" Olivia found herself momentarily at a loss for words, a sensation entirely foreign to her. In boardrooms and business dealings, she always knew exactly what to say, her words sharp and calculated. But here, faced with Emily's genuine concern and open expression, Olivia felt her carefully constructed facade begin to crumble. I wanted to thank you," Olivia finally managed, her voice softer than she intended, "for yesterday, at the cafe. Your kindness, it meant more than you know." Emily's smile widened, a hint of understanding dawning in her eyes. "The flowers," she said, "they were from you, weren't they?" "Oh gee," Olivia grinned. "I should have realized." Olivia nodded, feeling an uncharacteristic blush creep up her cheeks. "I hope it wasn't too much. I wanted to express my gratitude." Emily laughed, the sound light and genuine. "It was definitely unexpected, but beautiful. Thank you. Though I have to say, you didn't need to go to such lengths for a simple cup of coffee." "It wasn't just the coffee," Olivia found herself saying, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. "It was your kindness, your genuine desire to help without expecting anything in return. It made me realize some things about my own life." Emily's expression softened, a mix of compassion and curiosity in her gaze. She seemed about to respond when a small voice interrupted them. Miss Emily," a young boy, no more than 7 or 8, came running up, his face streaked with tears. "Tommy took my action figure and won't give it back." Without missing a beat, Emily knelt down to the boy's level, her voice soothing as she addressed his concerns. Olivia watched in amazement as Emily deftly handled the situation, comforting the crying child while simultaneously calling out to Tommy to return the toy. In a matter of minutes, the crisis was averted. The toy was returned, apologies were made, and both boys ran off to play, their earlier conflict forgotten. Emily stood up, brushing off her knees, and turned back to Olivia with a slightly apologetic smile. "Sorry about that," she said. "It's always something around here, but that's what makes this place special. It's full of life, challenges and all." Olivia found herself nodding, captivated by the ease with which Emily had handled the situation. In that moment, she saw a strength in the other woman that rivaled any she had encountered in the corporate world. It was a different kind of strength, one born of compassion and genuine care for others. "Would you like a tour?" Emily offered, gesturing around the center. "I'd love to show you what we do here, if you have the time." Olivia glanced at her watch, a habit ingrained by years of back-to-back meetings and tightly scheduled days. But for once, the time didn't matter. She had cleared her schedule, after all, driven by a need to understand the woman who had shown her such unexpected kindness. "I'd like that very much," Olivia replied, surprising herself with how much she meant it. As Emily began to lead her through the center, explaining the various programs and activities they offered, Olivia felt a strange sense of stepping into another world. It was a world where success wasn't measured in profit margins or stock prices, but in the smiles of children and the gratitude of struggling families who found support and community within these walls. With each step, each interaction she witnessed between Emily and the people in the center, Olivia felt something shift inside her. The carefully constructed walls she had built around her heart over years of climbing the corporate ladder began to crumble, brick by brick. And as she watched Emily kneel down once again, this time to help a young girl with her homework, Olivia Grant, billionaire CEO, ruthless businesswoman, felt something she hadn't experienced in years, a desire to be part of something bigger than herself, something that truly mattered. Little did she know, this was just the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything she thought she knew about success, happiness, and the true meaning of wealth. A journey that had begun with a simple cup of coffee and an act of kindness, and would go on to change not just her life, but the lives of countless others in ways she could never have imagined. As Emily and Olivia continued their tour of the community center, the contrast between their worlds became increasingly apparent. Every corner they turned, every room they entered, presented Olivia with a new perspective on life, one that was simultaneously humbling and inspiring. They paused in a small library, its shelves stocked with well-worn books and comfortable, if slightly shabby, reading nooks. A group of teenagers huddled around a table, heads bent over textbooks as they worked on what appeared to be a challenging math problem. "This is one of my favorite spots," Emily said, her voice soft with affection. "We run an after-school tutoring program here. Many of these kids don't have a quiet place to study at home or access to the resources they need. Here, they can get help with their homework, prepare for exams, even work on college applications." Olivia watched as Emily approached the group, offering words of encouragement and gently guiding one of the students through a particularly difficult equation. The ease with which Emily connected with the teenagers, the way their faces lit up at her praise, stirred something in Olivia's chest, a mix of admiration and an emotion she couldn't quite name. As they moved on, Emily continued to share stories about the center and the people it served. She spoke of single mothers working multiple jobs to make ends meet, of children who came to the center for their only reliable meal of the day, of elderly neighbors who found purpose in volunteering their time and skills. With each story, each glimpse into the lives touched by this place, Olivia felt the foundations of her worldview shift. She had always believed that success was measured in dollars and cents, in the power to influence markets and shape industries. But here, in this weathered building filled with hope and determination, she was witnessing a different kind of success, one measured in lives changed and communities strengthened. Their tour eventually led them to Emily's tiny office. Compared to Olivia's expansive corner office with its panoramic city views, this space was almost claustrophobically small. Yet, it radiated a warmth that Olivia's sleek, modern workspace had never possessed. Every inch of wall space was covered with children's drawings, thank you notes from grateful parents, and photos of smiling faces. A worn couch, piled high with colorful throw pillows, took up nearly half the room. It was clear that this was more than just an office. It was a haven, a place of comfort and trust for those who sought Emily's help. As Emily settled into her chair, gesturing for Olivia to take a seat on the couch, Olivia found herself at a loss for words. How could she express the tumult of emotions swirling inside her? How could she convey the profound impact this short tour had had on her perspective? I don't know what to say," Olivia finally admitted, her usual eloquence deserting her. "What you do here, what you've built, it's incredible." Emily's smile was tinged with a mix of pride and sadness. "Thank you. We do what we can with what we have. But I'll be honest with you, Olivia, we're struggling. Funding cuts, increased need in the community. Some days it feels like we're barely keeping our heads above water." Olivia felt a familiar spark ignite within her, the drive to solve problems, to fix what was broken. It was the same spark that had propelled her to the top of the business world, but this time, it was tempered by something new, a desire to help not for personal gain, but because it was the right thing to do. "Tell me more," Olivia said, leaning forward. "What are your biggest challenges? What do you need most?" As Emily began to outline the center's financial struggles and the growing needs of the community, Olivia listened with rapt attention. Her mind, honed by years of analyzing business problems and crafting solutions, began to whir with possibilities. She saw not just the challenges, but the potential. The lives that could be changed, the community that could be uplifted, and for the first time in longer than she could remember, Olivia felt a sense of purpose that had nothing to do with profit margins or market shares. As the afternoon light began to fade, casting long shadows across Emily's cluttered desk, Olivia made a decision. It wasn't a carefully calculated business move, nor was it a fleeting impulse born of guilt or obligation. It was something deeper, a recognition of an opportunity to use her wealth and influence for something truly meaningful. "Emily," Olivia said, her voice steady with newfound resolve, "I want to help, not just with a donation, but with a real, lasting partnership. I have resources, connections, skills that could benefit this center and this community. If you're willing, I'd like to work with you to make a real difference here." Emily's eyes widened, a mix of hope and cautious optimism flickering across her face. "Are you serious? I mean, that would be incredible, but why? You barely know us." Olivia paused, considering her words carefully. How could she explain the profound shift she had experienced in just a few short hours? How could she convey the way Emily's simple act of kindness had cracked open a door in her heart, allowing her to see a world beyond balance sheets and boardrooms? "Because you showed me kindness when you had no reason to," Olivia finally said, her voice soft but firm. "Because in doing so, you made me realize how much I've been missing in my pursuit of success. And because I believe that together, we can create something truly remarkable here." As Emily's face broke into a radiant smile, Olivia felt a warmth spread through her chest. It was a feeling she hadn't experienced in years, the joy of connection, of shared purpose, of using her abilities for something greater than herself. In that moment, in a tiny, cluttered office in a struggling community center, two women from vastly different worlds found common ground. And though they didn't know it yet, their partnership was about to set in motion a chain of events that would transform not just their lives, but the lives of countless others in their community and beyond. As the sun dipped below the Atlanta skyline, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Olivia and Emily sat together, poring over budgets and brainstorming ideas. The energy between them was electric, a synergy of Emily's grassroots knowledge and passionate dedication with Olivia's business acumen and strategic thinking. Hours passed unnoticed as they talked, planned, and dreamed. Olivia found herself energized in a way she hadn't felt in years. Here, in this humble office, she wasn't Olivia Grant, billionaire CEO, but simply Olivia, a woman with skills to offer and a genuine desire to make a difference. It was well past midnight when they finally emerged from the center, both women exhausted but exhilarated. The streets were quiet now, the earlier bustle of the day replaced by the gentle hum of a city at rest. As they stood on the sidewalk, the cool night air a refreshing contrast to the stuffy warmth of Emily's office. A moment of uncertainty passed between them. "So," Emily said, a hint of nervousness in her voice, "where do we go from here?" Olivia looked at the woman beside her, this remarkable individual who had unknowingly set her on a new path with a simple act of kindness. In the soft glow of the streetlights, Emily's face shone with hope and determination, and Olivia felt a surge of protectiveness. She wanted to shield this light from the harsh realities of the world she knew, while at the same time, she longed to bask in its warmth. "We move forward," Olivia said firmly. "Together." "I meant what I said, Emily. I'm in this for the long haul. Whatever it takes to make this center thrive, to expand its reach, to truly make a difference in this community, I'm committed." Emily's smile was radiant, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Thank you, Olivia. You have no idea what this means, not just to me, but to everyone who depends on this place." As they parted ways that night, each heading back to their respective worlds, both women felt the weight of the day's events settling over them. For Emily, it was a weight tinged with hope, the possibility of securing a future for the center and expanding their ability to help those in need. For Olivia, it was the weight of a decision that she knew would alter the course of her life irrevocably. The days that followed were a whirlwind of activity. Olivia threw herself into the project with the same intensity she had once reserved for corporate takeovers and market expansions. She pored over the center's finances, identifying areas for improvement and efficiency. She reached out to her vast network of contacts, securing donations, partnerships, and support from unexpected quarters. Emily, for her part, was a constant source of inspiration and grounding. She helped Olivia navigate the complex web of community needs and relationships, ensuring that every decision they made was in service of the people they aimed to help. Her unwavering commitment to the center's mission kept Olivia focused on what truly mattered, preventing her from falling back into old habits of prioritizing numbers over people. As news of their partnership spread, it sent ripples through both their worlds. In Olivia's corporate circles, there was a mix of confusion and grudging admiration. Some saw it as a savvy PR move, while others whispered about the once ruthless CEO going soft. Olivia found that she cared less and less about their opinions with each passing day. In Emily's world, the reaction was one of cautious optimism. The staff and volunteers at the center, who had weathered so many storms and disappointments, dared to hope that this might be the turning point they had been praying for. The families they served watched with a mix of curiosity and gratitude as improvements began to take shape. Fresh paint on the walls, new computers in the library, expanded programs and services. But it wasn't just the tangible changes that were making a difference. The energy of the center itself seemed to shift, infused with a new sense of hope and possibility. The children's laughter seemed brighter, the volunteers' smiles wider, and even the most world-weary parents who came through their doors appeared to stand a little taller. As weeks turned into months, Olivia found herself spending more and more time at the center. Her sleek corporate attire gave way to more casual clothes, her high heels often exchanged for comfortable flats as she moved from tutoring sessions to board meetings to impromptu basketball games with the kids. One particularly memorable afternoon, Olivia found herself perched on a tiny chair in the center's art room, surrounded by a group of giggling 5-year-olds. Paint smeared her cheeks and stained her once pristine blouse, but she couldn't remember the last time she laughed so freely. Emily walked in, pausing in the doorway to take in the scene. The sight of Olivia Grant, once the epitome of corporate polish, now covered in finger paint and beaming with joy, made her heart swell. It was moments like these that reinforced her belief in the transformative power of kindness and community. "Having fun?" Emily asked, her eyes twinkling with amusement. Olivia looked up, her smile radiant. "More than I ever thought possible," she admitted, "though I think my artistic skills leave something to be desired." Emily laughed, coming over to inspect the colorful mess on Olivia's paper. "I don't know," she said thoughtfully, tilting her head to the side. "I think it has a certain abstract charm." As they shared a laugh, Olivia felt a warmth bloom in her chest. These moments of easy camaraderie with Emily had become the highlight of her days. She found herself constantly amazed by Emily's resilience, her unwavering compassion, and her ability to find joy in even the most challenging circumstances. The changes weren't confined to the community center, however. Olivia's entire world seemed to shift on its axis. Board meetings that once consumed her thoughts now felt trivial compared to the real-world problems she was helping to solve at the center. The thrill of closing a big deal paled in comparison to the joy of seeing a child's face light up when they mastered a difficult math problem or created their first piece of art. Her colleagues noticed the change too. Gone was the cutthroat CEO who would stop at nothing to get ahead. In her place was a woman who spoke passionately about community investment and social responsibility, who looked for ways to use the company's resources to make a real difference in people's lives. Some embraced this new direction, inspired by Olivia's vision of a business model that balanced profit with social good. Others resisted, clinging to the old ways of doing things. But Olivia stood firm, her experiences at the community center having reshaped her priorities in ways she never could have imagined. As for Emily, she found herself stretched in new and exciting ways. Olivia's influence opened doors that had previously been firmly shut, allowing the center to expand its reach and impact. Emily's role grew from managing a single center to overseeing a network of community programs across the city. The increased responsibility was daunting at times, but Emily rose to the challenge with characteristic grace and determination. She found an unexpected ally in Olivia, whose strategic thinking and business savvy complemented Emily's grassroots knowledge and people skills perfectly. Together, they were a force to be reckoned with. They navigated the complex world of grants and government funding, launched innovative programs that addressed the community's most pressing needs, and built partnerships with other organizations to create a safety net that caught those who might otherwise have fallen through the cracks. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were setbacks and challenges that tested their resolve. A promised grant fell through, leaving a hole in their budget. A scandal involving a similar organization in another state led to increased scrutiny and skepticism of their work. There were late nights and heated debates, moments of doubt and frustration. Through it all, Olivia and Emily's partnership deepened, evolving into a friendship that anchored them both. They celebrated victories together, no matter how small, and supported each other through the tough times. Their different perspectives and backgrounds, once a potential source of conflict, became their greatest strength. One evening, As they sat in Emily's office reviewing plans for a new youth entrepreneurship program, Olivia found herself marveling at how much her life had changed in the span of a few short months. "You know," she said, setting down the papers she'd been reviewing, "I never thanked you properly." Emily looked up, her brow furrowed in confusion. "Thanked me? For what?" "For that cup of coffee," Olivia said softly. "For showing kindness to a stranger. For opening my eyes to a world I'd been blind to for so long." Emily's expression softened, a gentle smile playing at her lips. "Olivia, you've more than repaid that small gesture 1,000 times over with everything you've done for this center, for this community." Olivia shook her head. "No, it's more than that. You showed me what truly matters in life. You helped me find a purpose beyond profits and power. I was lost, Emily, drowning in a world of my own making, and your simple act of kindness threw me a lifeline." Tears glistened in Emily's eyes as she reached across the desk to squeeze Olivia's hand. "I'm so glad you found your way here," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You've become such an integral part of this place, of this community, of my life." As their eyes met, a current of understanding passed between them. They had started as strangers from different worlds, brought together by chance and a cup of coffee. Now, they were partners, friends, and perhaps something more, two souls united by a shared vision and a deep, abiding respect for each other. The moment was interrupted by a knock on the door. One of the teenage volunteers poked his head in, his face alight with excitement. "Miss Emily, Miss Olivia, you've got to come see this." Exchanging curious glances, Emily and Olivia followed the boy out into the main area of the center. There, they found a crowd gathered around the television, all eyes fixed on the screen. It was a news report featuring none other than their community center. The reporter spoke glowingly of the innovative programs they'd implemented, the lives they changed, and the unique partnership between a grassroots organization and a corporate powerhouse that had made it all possible. As the camera panned across smiling faces and bustling activity, Olivia felt Emily's hand slip into hers. They stood there, surrounded by the community they'd worked so hard to support, watching as their shared vision unfolded on the screen before them. In that moment, Olivia knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be. The path that had led her here might have been unexpected, sparked by a random act of kindness in a coffee shop, but it had brought her to a place of purpose, of fulfillment, of genuine happiness. As the news segment ended and the room erupted into cheers and congratulations, Olivia turned to Emily, her heart full to bursting. "Thank you," she whispered, the words carrying the weight of all she felt but couldn't fully express. Emily's answering smile was radiant, her eyes shining with shared joy and understanding. "No," she said softly, squeezing Olivia's hand. "Thank you for believing in this place, in these people, for believing in me." Together, they turned to face the room full of celebrate faces, ready to embrace whatever challenges and triumphs lay ahead. They had started this journey as strangers, bound by a simple act of kindness. Now, they stood united, their lives irrevocably intertwined, proof of the profound power of compassion to change not just individual lives, but entire communities. As the excitement in the room swelled around them, Olivia and Emily shared a look of quiet understanding. This was just the beginning. They had so much more to do, so many more lives to touch, and they would do it together, one act of kindness at a time. The story of Olivia and Emily, of a chance encounter over coffee that blossomed into a partnership capable of transforming an entire community, quickly became the stuff of local legend. It spread through Atlanta like wildfire, passed from person to person in hushed, awe-filled tones, each retelling adding a new layer of wonder to the tale. In boardrooms and business schools, it was held up as a shining example of corporate social responsibility done right. Olivia found herself invited to speak at conferences and seminars, sharing the story of her transformation from cutthroat CEO to community advocate. She spoke with passion about the power of business to effect positive change, challenging her peers to look beyond profit margins and consider their impact on the world around them. Emily, too, found herself in the spotlight, though she approached it with her characteristic humility. She was sought after by non-profit organizations and community groups, eager to learn from her experience in partnering with the corporate world without losing sight of their core mission. Her unwavering commitment to the people she served, combined with her newfound business acumen, made her a powerful voice in discussions about sustainable community development. But for all the public attention and accolades, it was the quieter, more personal moments that truly marked the depth of the change in both their lives. For Olivia, it was the day she realized she couldn't remember the last time she checked the stock prices of her company. Instead, her thoughts were filled with the progress of their latest literacy program, the upcoming fundraiser for the center's expansion, and whether Emily might like to try that new Thai restaurant that had opened up down the street. For Emily, it was the afternoon she found herself confidently presenting a complex budget proposal to a room full of potential donors, drawing on skills she learned from Olivia. As she fielded questions with ease, she caught Olivia's eye across the room, saw the pride shining there, and felt a surge of gratitude for this unexpected partnership that had allowed her to grow in ways she never imagined. Their friendship continued to deepen, evolving into something that defied easy categorization. They were partners, confidants, each other's staunchest supporters and most trusted advisors. They challenged each other, pushed each other to grow, and provided a steady source of comfort and understanding when the world became too much. Late one night, as they sat on the roof of the community center, looking out over the city they were working so hard to improve, Olivia turned to Emily with a thoughtful expression. "Do you ever wonder," she asked softly, "what would have happened if I hadn't forgotten my wallet that day? If you hadn't been there to buy my coffee?" Emily was quiet for a moment, considering the question. "I'd like to think," she said finally, "that we would have found our way to each other eventually, that the universe would have conspired to bring us together, because this," she gestured between them and out at the city beyond, "this was meant to be." Olivia smiled, warmth blooming in her chest at Emily's words. "You know," she said, "I used to think that kind of talk was nonsense. Fate, destiny, the universe conspiring. It all seemed like fairy tale stuff to me. And now?" Emily prompted gently. "Now," Olivia said, her voice soft but sure, "I'm not so certain, because meeting you, Emily, it changed everything. It changed me, and I can't help but feel that there was something bigger at work that day in the coffee shop." Emily reached out, taking Olivia's hand in hers. "Whatever it was," she said, "I'm grateful for it. For you. For all of this." As they sat there, hand in hand, looking out over the city, they were slowly but surely changing for the better. Both women felt a profound sense of rightness. They had embarked on this journey as strangers, brought together by a simple act of kindness. Now, they were partners in every sense of the word, bound by a shared vision and a deep, abiding love for their work, for their community, and for each other. The story of Olivia and Emily, of coffee and kindness, and the remarkable change that can come from one small gesture, was far from over. In many ways, it was just beginning, but one thing was certain. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever triumphs awaited them, they would face it all together. Two women from different worlds, united by compassion, driven by purpose, and proof that sometimes the greatest journeys begin with the smallest steps. As the stars twinkled overhead and the city hummed with life below, Olivia and Emily sat in comfortable silence, each lost in thoughts of the past that had brought them here and the future they would build together. A future bright with promise, rich with purpose, and overflowing with the kind of wealth that couldn't be measured in dollars and cents, but in lives touched, communities strengthened, and hearts forever changed by the simple, profound power of kindness. The cool night air carried with it the scent of possibility, and as they sat there, hand in hand, both women felt the weight of the moment. It was more than just a partnership they had forged. It was a new way of seeing the world, a testament to the transformative power of compassion and shared purpose. As the weeks turned into months and then into years, Olivia and Emily's vision for the community continued to grow and evolve. The once struggling center became a beacon of hope, a model for similar organizations across the country. They expanded their programs, reaching more families, empowering more individuals, and creating a ripple effect of positive change that spread far beyond the boundaries of their neighborhood. Olivia's corporate expertise, combined with Emily's grassroots knowledge, proved to be a formidable force. They navigated the complex worlds of fundraising, policymaking, and community organizing with a grace and effectiveness that caught the attention of national media and policymakers alike. One crisp autumn morning, as golden leaves drifted past the windows of their now expanded office, Emily burst in, her face alight with excitement. "Olivia, you're not going to believe this." Olivia looked up from her computer, a smile already tugging at her lips. Emily's enthusiasm was always contagious. "What is it?" "We've been invited to speak at the United Nations," Emily exclaimed, her voice filled with awe. "They want us to present our model of corporate community partnership as a case study for sustainable urban development." Olivia's eyes widened, the full import of the news sinking in. "The UN? Emily, that's incredible." As they embraced, both women fighting back tears of joy, they couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. From a chance encounter in a coffee shop to the world stage, it was almost too much to comprehend. The UN presentation was a resounding success. Olivia and Emily stood side by side, their contrasting styles complementing each other perfectly as they shared their story. Olivia spoke of the transformative power of using corporate resources for social good, while Emily highlighted the importance of grassroots involvement and community-led initiatives. Their audience, comprising world leaders, NGO representatives, and corporate executives, listened with rapt attention. As Olivia and Emily fielded questions, their hands found each other, a gesture of support and unity that didn't go unnoticed by the keen-eyed observers in the room. In the days and weeks that followed, their phones rang off the hook. Offers of partnerships, requests for consultations, and invitations to replicate their model in cities around the world poured in. It was overwhelming, exhilarating, and more than a little scary. Late one night, as they pored over the mountain of opportunities before them, Emily noticed Olivia's furrowed brow. "What's on your mind?" she asked gently. Olivia sighed, leaning back in her chair. "I'm just thinking about scale, about how we can take what we've built here and make it work elsewhere without losing the heart of it, without losing us." Emily nodded, understanding immediately. Their work, their partnership, had always been intensely personal. The thought of turning it into something bigger, something that could exist without their direct involvement, was daunting. "Maybe," Emily said slowly, "we don't have to do it all ourselves. Maybe our role now is to inspire others, to show them what's possible, and then trust them to make it their own." Olivia smiled, reaching across the desk to take Emily's hand. "You always know just what to say, don't you?" As they sat there, surrounded by the trappings of their success, awards on the walls, letters of commendation piled high on the desk, both women felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had started this journey with a simple act of kindness, and now they had the opportunity to spread that kindness across the globe. In the years that followed, Olivia and Emily became known as the dynamic duo of social change. They traveled the world, sharing their story and their model, inspiring others to bridge the gap between corporate power and community needs. They wrote books, gave TED Talks, and even started a foundation to support other grassroots organizations looking to partner with businesses for social good. But for all their global success, they never lost sight of where it all began. They remained deeply involved in their original community center, now a thriving hub of activity that had sparked a renaissance in the once struggling neighborhood. They knew every child by name, celebrated every small victory, and continued to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty whenever needed. One sunny afternoon, as they walked hand in hand through the bustling community garden that had once been an empty lot, Olivia suddenly stopped. Emily turned to her, a question in her eyes. "I love you," Olivia said simply, the words carrying the weight of years of shared experiences, challenges overcome, and dreams realized. Emily's smile was radiant as she squeezed Olivia's hand. "I love you too," she replied, her voice soft but sure. It wasn't the first time they'd said those words to each other, but in that moment, surrounded by the tangible results of their love, not just for each other, but for their community and for the work they did, the words held a special resonance. As they continued their walk, greeting community members and admiring the flourishing plants, both women felt a deep sense of contentment. They had found in each other not just partners in work, but partners in life. Their love story was unconventional, born out of a shared passion for making the world a better place, but it was no less powerful for it. That evening, as they sat on the roof of the community center, now a tradition for them, Olivia turned to Emily with a mischievous glint in her eye. "You know," she said, "I never did thank you properly for that cup of coffee." Emily laughed, the sound carrying on the warm evening breeze. "Oh, really? And how exactly does one properly thank someone for a $2 cup of coffee that changed the course of their life?" Olivia smiled, reaching into her pocket and pulling out a small velvet box. "Well," she said, her voice suddenly serious, "I was thinking maybe something like this." As she opened the box to reveal a sparkling ring, Emily's breath caught in her throat. "Olivia," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "Emily," Olivia said, her own eyes shining with unshed tears, "you bought me a cup of coffee, and in doing so, you gave me a new life, a better life, a life full of purpose and love and joy. Will you do me the honor of sharing that life with me, officially and forever? Will you marry me?" Emily's "yes" was barely audible through her tears, but the kiss that followed left no doubt about her answer. As they held each other close, the city spread out before them and the stars twinkling overhead, both women marveled at the journey that had brought them to this moment. From strangers in a coffee shop to partners in life and love, their story was a testament to the power of kindness, the strength of purpose, and the transformative magic of opening one's heart to the possibilities of human connection. And so, as the sun set on another day in the city they had helped to transform, Olivia and Emily looked to the future with hope and excitement. They knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever new adventures awaited them, they would face them together, bound by love, driven by purpose, and forever grateful for the simple act of kindness that had started it all. Their story, which had begun with a cup of coffee and a moment of generosity, was far from over. In fact, in many ways, it was just beginning. For Olivia and Emily had learned that the greatest adventures, the most profound changes, often start in the most unexpected places, and they were living proof that with open hearts and willing hands, even the smallest gesture of kindness can ripple out to change the world. As night fell and the city lights twinkled below, Olivia and Emily sat in contented silence, their fingers intertwined, the weight of the ring a beautiful promise on Emily's hand. They didn't need words in that moment. Their shared journey, their love, and their commitment to each other and to their community spoke volumes. In the years that followed, Olivia and Emily's love story became as legendary as their professional partnership. Their wedding was a community affair, held in the very center where their journey together had truly begun. Children they had mentored served as flower girls and ring bearers. Volunteers they had worked alongside for years stood as their wedding party, and the entire neighborhood turned out to celebrate the union of two women who had given so much of themselves to others. The ceremony was a beautiful blend of their two worlds, Emily's warmth and community spirit evident in the handmade decorations and potluck reception, while Olivia's touch could be seen in the elegant simplicity of the proceedings and the top-tier entertainment she had insisted on providing for their extended community family. As they exchanged vows, promising to continue supporting each other and their shared vision for a better world, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. The love between them was palpable, a force as real and transformative as the work they had done in the community. Their honeymoon was unconventional, much like their relationship. Instead of a luxury resort or a tropical getaway, they embarked on a world tour of community organizations and social enterprises. They visited grassroots initiatives in developing countries, shared their experiences with budding social entrepreneurs, and came back with notebooks full of new ideas and hearts full of renewed passion for their work. Upon their return, they threw themselves into their next big project, a nationwide network of community centers modeled after their own. They traveled across the country, identifying struggling neighborhoods and pairing them with corporate partners willing to invest in long-term community development. It wasn't always easy. There were late nights and early mornings, heated debates over resource allocation, and moments of doubt when the challenges seemed insurmountable. But through it all, Olivia and Emily's partnership, both personal and professional, remained strong. They balanced each other, Olivia's strategic mind complementing Emily's intuitive understanding of community needs. Together, they were an unstoppable force for positive change. As their influence grew, so did the recognition of their work. Awards and accolades poured in, but what meant the most to them were the stories of lives changed, of communities revitalized, of hope restored in places where it had long been lost. One particularly memorable moment came on the 10th anniversary of their first meeting. They had returned to the daily grind, the coffee shop where it had all begun, for a quiet celebration. As they sat at a corner table, reminiscing about that fateful day, they were approached by a young woman, her eyes shining with emotion. "Excuse me," she said hesitantly, "but are you Olivia and Emily, the ones who started the community center program?" When they nodded, the woman's face broke into a radiant smile. "I just wanted to thank you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I grew up in one of the neighborhoods you helped. The programs at the center there, they changed my life. I'm in college now, studying social work. I want to do for others what you did for me and my community." As the young woman shared her story, Olivia and Emily held hands under the table, their eyes filling with tears of joy. This was why they did what they did. This was the ripple effect of kindness in action, passing from one generation to the next. After the woman left, Olivia turned to Emily, her eyes soft with love and wonder. "Can you believe it's been 10 years?" she asked. Emily shook her head, a smile playing on her lips. "In some ways, it feels like just yesterday. In others, it's like I've known you and loved you my whole life." Olivia nodded, understanding completely. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "I used to think I had it all figured out. Success, power, wealth. I thought that was the key to happiness. But it took a chance encounter and a cup of coffee to show me what really matters." "And what's that?" Emily asked, though she already knew the answer. "Love," Olivia said simply. "Love for you. Love for our community. Love for the work we do. That's the real wealth, the real success." As they left the coffee shop hand in hand, stepping out into a world they had helped to change for the better, both women felt a profound sense of gratitude for the twist of fate that had brought them together, for the challenges that had shaped them, and for the love that continued to inspire them. Their story, which had begun with a simple act of kindness, had blossomed into a powerful force for change. And as they looked to the future, excited for whatever new adventures awaited them, Olivia and Emily knew one thing for certain. As long as they had each other, and as long as they continued to lead with kindness and compassion, anything was possible. The sun was setting on another day in Atlanta, painting the sky in brilliant hues of orange and pink. As Olivia and Emily walked home, their fingers intertwined, they passed by families enjoying the park they had helped renovate, teenagers engrossed in books from the library they had expanded, and elderly neighbors tending to the community garden they had planted. Each sight was a reminder of the impact they had made, the lives they had touched. But more than that, it was a testament to the power of love. Love for each other, love for their community, and love for the work they did. As they reached their home, a modest but comfortable house in the heart of the neighborhood they had helped transform, Olivia paused on the porch. She turned to Emily, her eyes shining with the same wonder and love that had been there from the beginning. "You know," she said softly, "I thank my lucky stars every day for that forgotten wallet and your kind heart." Emily smiled, reaching up to cup Olivia's cheek. "And I thank mine for your willingness to accept that kindness and turn it into something amazing." As they shared a tender kiss, the last rays of sunlight bathing them in a warm glow, both women felt a sense of peace and purpose that they had once thought impossible. They had found in each other not just love, but a shared vision, a common goal, and a partnership that had the power to change the world. Their story, which had begun with a chance encounter and a simple act of kindness, had grown into something beautiful and profound. It was a reminder to all who heard it that sometimes the smallest gestures can lead to the biggest changes, that love can bloom in the most unexpected places, and that when hearts and hands join together in service of others, miracles can happen. As night fell and they stepped into their home, Olivia and Emily knew that their journey was far from over. There would be new challenges to face, new lives to touch, new ways to spread kindness and create change. But whatever the future held, they would face it together, partners in love, in work, and in the never-ending quest to make the world a little bit better, one act of kindness at a time. And so, as the stars began to twinkle in the velvet sky above Atlanta, the story of Olivia and Emily, a tale of coffee, kindness, and transformative love, continued to unfold, a living testament to the enduring power of compassion in the remarkable changes that can occur when we open our hearts to the possibilities of human connection. Their legacy, built on a foundation of love and service, would continue to inspire generations to come, reminding all who heard their story that sometimes the greatest journeys begin with the smallest steps, and that in the end, it's not the wealth we accumulate or the power we wield that defines us, but the lives we touch and the love we share along the way.